Yes, guys, what's happening? What's happening? It's a Sunday evening podcast. We're back again. Haven't been here for a long, long time. Haven't been able to do the podcast in a long, long time because we've had cricket available, cricket out there for us to watch and to cover, and so much things that are happening. So I'm back again with the Sunday podcast. Just here to talk to you guys about cricket, about things that have happened recently, things that are going on with South Africa, and many things that are going down in the world of cricket in South Africa, particularly because you know that we are solely thinking about South African cricket over here. So that's what our main thing is. So let's get into it. Let's discuss it. Let's see who joins us today as well for this particular podcast. I've sent out the links to various people, so let's see who joins us for this because it will be very interesting to see what happens and what conclusions we come up with on this particular show. So I'm going to start off the show just by giving you guys a brief overview of certain things that have happened recently. So when it comes to the 4-day competition, um, the latest scores that have taken place and the latest results that have happened. So we have the Hollywood Bets Dolphins that beat the Imperial Lions by 8 wickets. um, the Lions scored 428 for five declared. Joshua Richards scored 151 and Reza Hendricks 136. Then we go to the Dolphins, who got a 66 from Grant Rudolphson and a 59 from Ruanda Swart. Sapamla and Mulder in the wickets over there. The Dolphins posted 337 all out. The Imperial Lions then batted again, scored 166 for six after 58 overs and declared, funnily enough. Dominic Hendricks, 72 not out. Bjorn Fortuin, 40. Bartman, 4 for 48 over there was the top wicket taker in that particular innings. And then Hollywood Bets Dolphins chased that down, 260 for two. Ackerman, 139 not out of 127 balls, and Kaya Zondo, 53 not out of 90. So an excellent batting performance there, beating the unbeaten Lions by 8 wickets. So people might confuse it over there. People might be talking a little bit about why they may be retired early or declared early. So those are the things that happen. Welcome to the show, Aditya too. He's here with us too. So I'm just going through some of the 4-day matches, some of the 4-day results here, Aditya, which is quite interesting. The G-Bets Warriors beat the G-Bets Rocks by 168 runs. So what a day for the sponsors. So G-Bets Warriors scored 245 all out, and Ngope was 75 of 95, and Rosier scored 68. But Sean van Berg was the main guy here with the ball, 6 for 76 in this particular match. Then the G-Birds Rock scored 259 in their reply. Stian van Zyl getting a 93. And Sean Berg also putting in a performance with the bat getting 49. Tian van Vuren with a ball over there, 3 for 35 standing out. Then we had the G-Bets Warriors, 356 all out. Vian Libber getting 100 in that match, and Tristan Stubbs getting 52. So it's good to see that he's bringing his form into the obviously into the 4-day arena as well. Welcome to the show, Mpo. I'm just giving people a quick update on the 4-day arena.
Please
What's
don't do
happening?
the Dolphins Lions game. It's fine. You don't have to do
I've,
that last one.
I've done it already, so you're lucky that
Oh,
I've already done it. Okay, the Hardest for Leon was the top wicket taker over there. Oh, one of the main wicket takers over there with 3 for 52, and then 3 for 18 from Stian van Zyl, also contributing with the ball. So Jeepers Rockstein in reply, 174 for 10. And Peter Manan 41, Sean van Berg 38 again with a bat. But Dane Patterson 7 for 25. Wow, it's good to see him back in full swing once again. And obviously, we know that the Warriors beat the Rocks by 168 runs. There was no play due to rain between Western Province and the Knights. Although the Six Young Girls province, they obviously scored 501 for 6 declared, with Bedingham on 199 and Tony Rezorzi 97. Could see got 3 for 88 in that particular match. Then the Knights' replies was 190 for 5. So the Western Province team was on in its element over there, really getting an opportunity to maybe like beat their opponents over there, but obviously rain getting involved. And then we've got the Momentum Multiply Titans who played Northwest Dragons, and they beat them by 8 wickets. Northwest Dragons were 147 all out, and the king over there was Simon Harmer with 5 for 50 and Lizard Williams 3 for 43. The Titans' reply was 246 for 10, and Heinrich Klaassen got 128 in that particular match, and Makanya 40. Delano Potgieter picking up some wickets, 4 for 40. And then Northwest Dragons' reply was 231 all out. Heino couldn't get in 100 though in that particular match. Lizard Williams picking up another 3-4, and Harmer getting and adding an extra 2 to his tally. And then the Titans, 100 Klaassen scored 71 not out. And Grant McQuena, 50 not out to take them home for the 8 wicket win. So that is Division A fixtures that I'm just updating you guys on. Just give you a quick update of what happened in the division. Now let's get into today's discussion. Welcome to the show, everybody. I think it's about the perfect time for us to right now talk about South Africa. Now that the dust is settled, we've probably recovered from celebrations with regards to the win. Let's chat about where we can improve going forward, because there are a lot of lessons that must be learned. I hope that South Africa doesn't look at this and say, with cockiness, and say, look here, we've won now, we can move forward and just continue doing what we're doing. There's still a lot of things that they need to improve, some decision making. I think with regards to the batting lineup, there's still some issues over there. We need to sort out what's happening with the opening pair and what's happening at the number 4 position maybe, and also whether we're going to even try and delve into that opportunity to get us extra batter in the lineup maybe going forward, and how we balance the side if we do that, if we bat with 7 batters, specialized batters, and not an all-rounder at 7. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about, a lot of things that we can discuss, but let's go around the room and let's hear all of you guys' thoughts. Aditya, from your perspective, I know it will be maybe a little bit difficult for you to talk about South Africa after what happened with India, and I think maybe there's similar things that you want to improve with regards to India that South Africa was supposed to do a couple of years ago. You guys are kind of in the similar boat to what South Africa was a couple of years ago, maybe when we were doing well, we were winning test matches, we had experienced guys. Those experienced guys are on the verge of retirements, etc. Losing Kohli as your captain now across all formats as well. There's going to be a whole resurgence at India, but let's talk about South Africa first. Where do you think there needs to be? Where does South Africa need to improve? In which sections of the team?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about the various issues with batting and I guess some of the issues with the bowling, with respect to pace and being off color, early on in a test match and so on. But I think one thing that really stands out to me, and it's also something that's relevant to India, is that I think anytime a test team decides to employ the 6-5 approach, 6-5 composition, 6 batters and 5 bowlers, I think every time you do that, you need more runs from your players at 7 and 8, because that can be the difference between winning and losing a test match. And I feel like India certainly didn't do that well through the course of this series, but it's certainly something that South Africa should take note of, because if Marco Jansen plays at 7 and Keshav Maharaj plays at 8, then in this day and age, where the vast majority of test matches are played on wickets that support bowlers, their contribution becomes that much more important with the bat. 30 runs each can make a huge difference to the result of a test match. And going forward, I think that's something that South Africa should think about.
Open for the panel.
I'll come in here. Look, I agree with Aditya about 7 and 8, but at this point in time, I think for me, it's actually playing cricket. I think the improvement would be to play cricket with one less bowler. That, be it a spinner or be it one of your pacers. I think we were lucky because India kind of told you that they were going with a 6-5, so you could match them on the 6-5 and hope that you can bowl out 7 and 8 very cheaply, which South Africa did. Our bowling attack, surprisingly, is better than I thought it was. With the fact that they hadn't bowled in like 5 months, like test match lengths, but they stepped up. And so, to a certain extent, the question is, can you win games with 4 bowlers? And I do think they can, even if it's 3 seamers and 1 spinner. But for me, my issue is the batting, like certain aspects of the batting. Like, we need to figure out what to do with Aiden at the top. Are we keeping him there at the top, or are you going to move him down, or are you going to tell him to step aside? Number 4 is Rassie. Do we want Rassie as our number 4 going forward? Is he the type of guy we want? He's getting the hang of it. He seems to be like a 4th innings hero, essentially. And so that mentality is something I want in the team, because if I need to chase anything in the 4th innings, that's how Faf made his money. Remember Faf, those stands at Adelaide, and throughout his career, he made his money on those 4th innings. So if Rassie can do that, even though he looked like he didn't know what, at times he looked unsure in the series, as to whether to play the ball, to come back. In that innings in Cape Town, like, India got his edge like multiple times, just never carried, never got out. Even though it looked really weird. So for me, that's the question. Then the final question is 7 and 8. What do you do at 7? I'm not even talking about number 8. Yeah. I don't think we should be putting pressure on our 4 bowlers. They already do so much. They are just that good that they give you an extra 20-30 runs by dismissing the opponents for 20-30 runs less outside of that Centurion first innings. So for me, it's whether we can win cricket matches, test matches, with a 7-4 split and a 7th batter, not somebody who can bowl and is like an all-rounder, a 7th batter. We need to forget this thing of Vian Mulder. Vian Mulder needs to score runs. He needs to score runs, and he needs to fight for a place as a top 6 batter. If he can do that, he can come into the side as a number 7. But we've seen right now that there are something technically that he needs to work on. And I hope that stint in the UK is going to help him. But I wouldn't take him to New Zealand. I also wouldn't take him to the UK. I'd rather have him sit here, and I'd rather us, South Africa, go into those series 7-4 split, 3 bowlers, 1 seamer, 3 seamers, 1 spinner, and have a top 7 that rivals everybody else. And those are the questions I have about the top 7. KP looks nice. That's good. You want to continue that. Temba needs to continue that form. He averages 50 since 2020. He needs to continue, score big runs, and do that for the side. But then the other question for me is whether Kyle Verreynne at 7, with his flaws and everything else. I know he only had 3 chances to bat in the series, and in those 3 chances, he didn't look that great with that front foot. Are we going to persist with Kyle, or is there an opportunity to give somebody else a chance? Khalid, you read out Heino Klaasen scored 128. He scored 70 in the second innings too. So if there ever was a guy who Boucher loves and can keep, he's the guy. And so that's also going to bring some other element going to New Zealand as to whether you want to take Heino Klaasen, or do you see Ryan Rickleton as your backup keeper? So that's the other thing. And then finally, your 3 seamers should be Anrich, Lungi, and KG. It shouldn't be a question. And the only question is whether you drop Kesha for Marco. That's the only other question that the way South Africa can improve is that they need to be flexible with the ability to let Keshav not play all the games. That won't suit him. Keshav bowling 2 overs and acting like an 8th batsman doesn't make sense. If Keshav batted like Shardul Thakur, or even batted like Ravi Ashwin, I'd keep him inside. Because that kind of gives you that ability, because Ashwin has scored big runs before. Keshav's only got 350s in his international career, and Shardul Thakur in his, 10 innings, or however many games he's played like less than 10 games, he's already gotten 350s. And he looks really good. He had some really great innings this series. So if Keshav can do that, then fine. But outside of that, you can. Thanks, XL Corporation. Don't know who you are. Love you.
Oh, sorry,
Um,
my fingers slipped.
but then, yeah. So my thing is, because in New Zealand, if New Zealand can drop a Jas Patel at home, you can drop Keshav Maharaj when you play in New Zealand, and we should be comfortable with that. Squad mentality, think like a squad, and that's my other thing. The guys in and around the squad need to get game time. I don't know how, but that's the point of having an SAA. Maybe take an SAA team to New Zealand and let them play some New Zealand A team somewhere there so they can get a sense of international cricket. Rickleton, Sardal Abbey if he doesn't open. The guys next up. So when injuries and retirements happen, we're not surprised.
And Ajaz Patel
Werner,
was left out after taking a 10 for, by the way.
Yes. We should be
It was a
comfortable
game after
doing
the
that.
10 for.
Werner, I wanna just, because there's a lot that Impo said that we can break up actually into different segments. I want to start with Aiden. You did an excellent video that you put on Twitter that is done extremely well, and just describing some of his dismissals and the way and some of his flaws. Can you maybe just highlight some of that and just bring it to the stream so that we can maybe just flesh it out a little bit more to look at it? Because I came with a discussion. Me and Umpo had quite a few chats and not arguments, but we've had a couple of chats. I would say productive chats about Aiden specifically, um, knowing that I'm a fan of his and asking me where I stand with him. And after initially, I was like, yeah, maybe push him at 4. And then afterwards, I was like, no. After thinking about it, after having a couple of days to think about it, I've decided no. You need to either make it as an opener or not make it at all, because there are other people or other batters that have changed their positions at domestic level to try and make it into the test team because of South Africa's intention to bat with Aiden and Dean at the top of the order. So he's an opener. He's batted there his entire life in domestic cricket, so he should make his way back into there and sort out his technical flaws. But I have been under the impression or the opinion that domestic cricket is not going to help him with those technical flaws, because he's not going to be tested the same way as he will be at Test cricket, when 3-4 seam bowlers that are moving the ball are going to be bowling at him at pace. When he goes to New Zealand, he'll get it. When he goes to England, he'll get it. But when he goes to play for the Titans, he won't get it. He might go to domestic cricket and smash runs and then come back and still have the same technical flaws. That could be a possibility, but we can't make all our decisions based on this possibility. So let's just get into your mind and what you thought, what your thought processes was when doing the video, and what are the things that you picked out about his particular technique.
Yeah, thanks, Khalid. Yeah, so a few people just asked me about it, and I figured it would just be easier to describe what I was thinking in a video, so that's why I did it. So yeah, I think it's not anything. It's most people would have probably spotted the same thing. Him going across too far with his front pad and playing around his front pad with an angle, that sort of thing. That is a problem for a lot of batsmen actually out there. It's not just Markram. And then the problem with that technique is you can get away with it on flat pitches or with bowlers that don't move the ball. But the moment you are on pitches that move around a bit, or you have bowlers that do seam it around, like Shami, like Bumrah, like even Thakur did, then you get into trouble because you don't have the time to get your bat around the front bat back to the ball in time when it moves into you. So he got caught out like that a few times. And then, so I know a lot was said about him batting on off stump, and maybe that's the problem, but I don't think that is the biggest problem. The biggest problem was him getting across too far, bringing his bat in from an angle. Because even if you bat on off stump, you'll be fine as long as you have your technique right. And you could see a lot of other batsmen doing that. Even Algar was batting on off stump or even outside off stump a lot of times throughout the series. KP didn't do it, but a few of the batsmen did that, and they didn't really have that same LBW or ball type of problem that Markram had. So he decided to go back to middle stump, and then he didn't really know where his off stump was, so he left one from Bumrah that bowled him, and then the last innings, he was really all over the place, playing outside the off stump, his head falling over. Basically, all the things you could do wrong as a test batsman kind of transpired in that last inning. So I feel for him. We all know what talent he does have, and we know he's probably good enough to make it at this level. But you'll first need to sort out his problems before he can do that. And I'm all of the opinion I would, even though we say maybe the domestic cricket would help him a lot, maybe just getting the confidence again in the long format would help as well. So let him go to domestic cricket. Let him score big runs. Maybe he decides you'll try the Milan route. You'll shift him, get down to 4, maybe get back into the team in that way. Because I don't want to shift him down to 4 in international cricket and have the same type of issues continuing. I'd rather him go back to the Titans, then bat at 4 at the Titans to score runs there, and then try and work his way back into the test squad, maybe in that middle or then. Because then it's fair enough on the other players doing that on domestic cricket, like Anaman Malan, like David Bedingham, who's in great form and he'd probably do a great role if he comes in. Then have Markram do the same thing in domestic cricket. And if he can improve, right, then he is the best batsman in domestic cricket at number 4. Then maybe he gets back into the squad if no one else has cemented a spot by that time.
Aditya, is it the... Okay, yeah, sure.
No, my point, Werner's point is correct, and it's I think it's largely based on limited overs cricket. The ball in limited overs cricket at the top doesn't move that much, so you can play with that bat coming across the line. Kyle Werner has the same issue that Aiden has, and it's not necessarily feet movement; it's the angle of the bat and how late the bat comes through the channel. If Kyle plays a lot straighter, it's everybody else's thing, and both of them will get it right somewhere along the line. My thing is about the management and the selectors. They need to come to a decision as to what they do with this guy. Previously, throughout the years, Stian van Zyl, Temba Bavuma have gone from batting at 5 to open. This is now slightly different. Those moments were when there was an injury or there was a player who struggled at the top, and you decided to push guys up who are new in that to try and see if they could make a name for themselves at the top. This is slightly different. You're actually now bringing someone down to protect them because of the moving ball. My question to everybody is, against better bowling attacks, i.e. New Zealand, Australia, and England, you're still going to have the same issue because it's not like they've got scrubs coming back at first change. This is not West Indies. It's not Bangladesh who don't have 4 seamers who can keep you up. Pakistan also could give him trouble, but obviously on the pitches that you're playing on, it might be a little bit easier. So it has to be a management and selectors decision as to what they do with Aiden. Everybody said Aiden needs to, because it's funny because Aiden's our best batter, right? And in limited overs cricket, Aiden needs to open, but everyone wants Aiden to bat at 4. In test match cricket, it's easier for you to bat at 4, but Aiden's an opener. It's kind of like it's a vice versa. It's kind of weird. And so management needs to sit down with him and figure out what he wants to do. If he wants to continue to open, and I do assume they've had this conversation with him because it kind of makes sense because he is the batter in this team with the highest ceiling. But, and as everyone speaks of all the potential, you guys talk about his potential all the time. But the question is, are you using him as that? And then on top of that, all those days where you are hiding players up and down the order, are those days gone because of what's happened at SJN? And if so, then Aiden needs to go back and he needs to, and essentially the question to Aiden is, I don't want runs. Yes, you do want runs, but I want runs with the correct technique. Do you get what I'm saying? So yes, I want you, because Aiden, and I think Werner also gave sent another video, but I don't think he put on Twitter, about Aiden speaking about his innings against Australia and won the 150. And he spoke about Aiden saying that he loves playing through extra cover. That needs to stop. If he wants to survive in Test cricket, he needs to play through mid-on and mid-off, or maybe slightly from mid-off up to extra cover, not extra cover point. Those are flashy, those are beautiful, but we've seen they've put him in trouble a lot of times. So my answer to him would be, yes, I get, find whatever guard you want to find, but you need to try and play as much in the V as possible for you to be able to be successful, even as a number 4 in international cricket. Look at how Temba is playing right now in the last 2 years. He's playing a lot straighter. He's playing mid on, mid off. KP, same thing. Yes, the wide ones, yeah, they'll put away, but it's about being able to play in that V. Dean Elgar plays there very well. That's what we need. He's aggressive. We love it. Keep the aggression, but play in that V. If he can do that, then he can score. He can score as many runs in the world as possible, because he's one of the most aggressive batters you can find, even in world cricket. So it's just one of those situations where, if you had a full-time batting coach, but they've got Justin Salmons there, somebody needs to have that discussion. And also discussion as to whether we do this. And if we do this, we need to back him. So you need to back him for New Zealand, Bangladesh, England, and whatever series it is at the end of the year, to see if he can play at number 4. The only problem about it is that it puts guys like David Bedingham, Yanaman behind. So effectively, what David Bedingham has been working towards coming back, what Yanaman Malan's been working towards this year, won't only come to fruition. They have to wait one more year. Zubair Hamza, who's been in and out of the side, also has to wait another year, because you're kind of protecting this guy. So from a fairness standpoint, and I know sport isn't fair, you're going to have to drop him if you want to move him.
Yeah. Sorry. I actually think you could probably do with another bit of county cricket, because those pitches will move generally and generously as well. So that's probably a good place to work on his technique, because you will find out very quickly on those English pitches. You see guys running in at 120 kph, taking fifers in England a lot. So that'll probably test his technique, and that might be the right place for him to figure it out.
I think that there's a little bit of a mix of, with the different formats, for example, man. Like, for example, when Aiden came onto the field, I mean, for the first time, obviously Test cricket is what brought him to us as the South African supporters. The longer format is what really made us fall in love with him with regards to after the Under-19 World Cup, of course. So when we saw him for the Proteas, it was Test cricket that really gave him that opportunity. And then we kind of saw him obviously play ODI cricket a little bit here and there, captain the ODI side from the India series when there was no captain available, then T20 cricket. And we thought that the progression would be Test, ODI, T20, but then he quickly became very informed when it came to T20 cricket and became a key figure for South Africa in the World Cup. And there were some changes within him, because straight to the IPL, straight to the T20 World Cup as South Africa's main batter in the side. And it almost makes me feel that how much work was done with regards to his flaws in Test cricket, because the focus would have all been white ball cricket leading up for the last 2 seasons. After Pakistan, I mean, the main thought process was preparing for that World Cup. So I want to ask Aditya this, because for me, it's more of a lack of someone, I don't know who, maybe he has a childhood coach that can maybe pick these things up and give him tips, but someone identifying his issues and trying to find the best possible solutions for him. Now, I don't know what knowledge you can bring to us, Aditya, here from previous things that you've learned from previous world-class batters that have gone off form, because batters go off form. It happens, particularly opening batters. Generally, the cricketers go off form. They fail more than they succeed, and that's just how it is, particularly in the Test arena when you're batting 2 innings. So, from a coaching perspective, is it maybe a tactical perspective? Is it maybe statistical? I mean, we've interviewed quite a few guys that are doing analysis and video analysis. I mean, in this modern day society, there should be enough analysis out there for him to be able to pick out his flaws and work on it.
Honestly, I think a lot of Aiden's struggles are mental, and if there's one thing that that I feel like Aiden hasn't figured out about his game, its tempo. Um, we had this conversation about his ODI form as well, and I think a lot of that is sort of trickling into the test arena also, where he hasn't figured out um, the rate that he needs to score at. Because I suppose on bowling friendly wickets, generally there is this perception that you want to score as quickly as possible because there is a ball that's got your name on it. But at the same time, I think sometimes, you know, players like Rohit Sharma or K. Rahul have shown that, there can be a more disciplined approach to batting where you curb your expansive attacking instincts, and I'd say the same about David Warner as well. Look at the couple of 90s that he scored in the Ashes recently. They were quite in contrast to what we know that he can bat at. The tempo that he can bat at. I feel like somewhere perhaps that is a question for Aiden and the management to think about, because you look at the way K. Rahul batted in that first innings at Centurion, you know, putting away Rohit Sharma batted at the Oval. You just put away a lot of your attacking shots, and you only score when you know that you can get that definite boundary. And perhaps that's something that Aiden might have to change in his game, because even in the 31 that he scored at the Wanderers, for example, it had a bunch of really aesthetically pleasing shots. You feel like, wow, this guy can really dominate. But then that doesn't last too long, because ultimately on a bowling friendly wicket, a good bowler is going to land it in the right place more often than not, and that's going to get you out. Uh, but at this point, I feel like Aiden's been at the international level long enough to 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 get his basic technique sorted. Then after that, there are little tweaks that players always make. But I think Aiden at the moment is challenged most by the tempo of his batting.
And I have to agree with you over here when it comes to talking about the mental side of things, because there's no way that a guy that can score the runs that he's scored already we've seen him score big hundreds, etc., and spend hours at the crease, that it can only purely just be only technical. I think it's a bit of both. I think there's a block from both sides, and maybe there's a lack because South Africa don't have a proper, but you could say like a full-time batting coach. It's changed like a couple of
But
times in the period, in the time that
it
it's been there.
isn't
And the reason I said go back to a childhood coach, the reason I said go back to a childhood coach, for example, is because majority of guys, they keep the same coach, like kind of that they go back to. They keep one basically person that they can trust amongst the obviously provincial coach or whoever, what other coaches they have. But South Africa's batters have struggled. This is not just the first time South Africa's batters have struggled, or a batter has struggled at the highest level, particularly in test cricket. So when we're looking at that, he's made such obvious changes within his batting stance. He's done it. We've seen the changes from middle stump to off stump I even saw him stand on leg stump in this particular series, in this last match. So like he's made significant changes, but it's almost so obvious to the opposition what he's doing that they also catch him up, because a good bowler is going to find out that he's doing that. And if Shami picks it up or Bumrah picks it up and tells these other bowlers, look here, this is it's so clear that what he's doing. But it's so obvious that I feel that South Africa needs a batting coach to be able to give the right guidance when it comes to changing of techniques. Batters shouldn't just be allowed to change their technique midway through a game or midway through a series like that. I feel if there isn't discussions happening to say, look here, this is what we've identified as your issue, therefore take this guard and therefore make this decision. But I'm not 100% sure if they are getting that guidance at the international level.
So just to
No, but
just to offer, go ahead. Sorry.
no. My point is, remember that these guys are cricket's a more of a field game. You got to feel correct. So even if Justin Salmons is saying stand on off, stand on whatever it is, Aiden's the one who goes out there. Aiden's the one whose job is on the line. And if he feels like he needs to stand on off stump, then he needs to stand on off stump because it makes him feel okay. Because the thing about this is the mental side of this is that you don't want to be standing at the crease going, Ish, I need to be an off, Ish, I need to be in the middle. Oh no,
Yeah.
because it needs to be instinctive. You need
But
to
that's
feel
how it
good.
looks. When he
Yes,
bats, it looks like that.
but this goes back to the start of the Mark Boucher era. I think if you look at his scores from that England series in 2019 when Boucher took over and Carlos was batting coach in that period, Aiden's only scored like one century and one half century. His average is 29 since then, and I don't think if it's a batting coach situation, right? Aiden should have sorted it out a long time ago, a little bit earlier, if he needs to go back to his coach. The other thing is you don't want so many voices in your head telling you what to do, and then you arrive at the crease and you're like, I should be doing this. Which is why I say it is possible that you should maybe drop him. Get him out the test side, let him sit for a few months, let him watch the series from home, and let him find a way within himself, get the fire again, to then say, I want to be back in the side. How do I get back? And then he can go and seek the help that he needs, rather than the batting coach and everybody telling him and keeping him in the side. Because what use does it help having a guy aside there who is off form, whose head looks like it's muddled, and I don't think it's going to change much between now and New Zealand. So I'd say just drop him for New Zealand. If he does well in the domestic game, you can play him against Bangladesh, but let him sit and let him work through whatever he needs to work through. They dropped Timber in that England series, and they told him to get runs. He went back. The first game, he's got 180. Everybody seemed to be happy. They got him back in the side after that series, and Timber's averaged 50 since then. So maybe it is the dropping and letting him know that it's not going to be just we're going to be protecting you inside the cushy bubble of the Proteas that he needs. Because for me, I don't think, how can he be happy with the scores that he has accumulated since the beginning of since Boucher's tenure? He's probably one of the worst batters in Boucher's tenure, if you look at it. I think it's between him and Rassie in that test side from an average perspective. I haven't checked it for what Rassie's average is since Boucher took over as coach. So something is wrong. So if he doesn't have the will to go change it himself, for a dropping from the side is something that will force him to find the fire again, find whatever works, and get that feel back. Sometimes smacking a couple of guys around Centurion could help you get your feel back. I don't know.
We have to also look at it. I mean, when you look at it, when you do look at his scores and what his record is and where he's played and where he's failed, etc., and what he's done to try and combat that. There's been a lot of learning for him during his career. There's no doubt about that. So you start off at home on flat wickets against a Bangladesh team that is looking to find themselves, and you go and score 97 run out on your debut, and then 143 in that series. Then you get a nice easy one against Zimbabwe to score 100 again, and then you go away and you play India at Centurion. I mean, at home you play India at Centurion and you score 94. You go on a little bit of a dip, then you play again in South Africa and you go 152. You score 152 against Australia, but then it starts to get a little bit more tricky. You're getting better bowlers coming down, testing you. When Pakistan came down here, there was a man, Shaheen Afridi, that was tearing up and using this wicket. That was when he was just coming onto the scene, of course. 78 and 90 in that series. Then he goes to the next series. So I'm trying to take it series by series and trying to look at how he's done. So when they went to Sri Lanka, that entire batting lineup was putrid. They looked clueless against the spin, like completely. And it was a problem for South Africa as a whole. So do we tag that into a group as saying, okay, it's the whole batting setup's fault, or do you take it? Oh no, Aiden takes that as an L for himself. So we need to look at it also within circumstances. Like we looked at Temba Bavuma, I looked at Temba Bavuma in circumstances. When did he score his runs? Under what circumstances? Was that 50 worth 100 in particular matches? It was in the most majority of his innings that he's played. So I'm looking at it as well as like that. Now we've seen him work on spin game. He's been a lot better against spin. We saw it when Sri Lanka came down here. He showed signs of it. He hasn't maybe gotten that turned those 50s into hundreds. There's quite a few 50s that he got that we wish that he turned into hundreds. I mean, the 78 against Pakistan, the 90 against Sri Lanka, the 60 against Sri Lanka, the 68 against Sri Lanka, the 60 against the West Indies. We thought that he could go on and score a massive runs against them. So it didn't necessarily happen. But when you look at it, there was also 100 in Pakistan that in Rawalpindi on a difficult wicket when nobody else was scoring that really showed his character. So there's signs of it. But now he's struggling against the moving ball up top. And I feel that this is now another issue that we've now identified of him that he needs to sort out. So now, how does he go about sorting that out? Because I don't see him learning those issues in domestic cricket. I just don't see him cleaning up his technique.
Must we keep him in the side and have him fail?
I don't know what the
always be a walking wicket.
No. I don't know what the answer is. But
what value does he get?
Because when you look at, I mean, Dean fails similarly. He goes a couple of matches missing, and then he scores 100 that wins us a game, or 50 that wins us a game.
Okay.
So as an opening partnership, they failed as an opening partnership. If one person holds down his end over there and performs, and they both can, because when one is struggling at the other end, you help each other out as an opening pair. There are some times that you're walking in the middle and you're not feeling like yourself, and you just need the other guy to take pressure off you. And it hasn't happened for this opening pair, unfortunately.
You know, if I remember a conversation with Kyle Southgate, you know, he said that a lot of technical analysis has become an individual pursuit. You know, so at an individual level, obviously we don't know what Aiden is working on with the analyst or with the coach. But you know, it reminds me of this one instance when India had toured South Africa in 96, 97. And there was a game in Cape Town where South Africa absolutely hammered India in a test match. South Africa made 529 declared in the first innings, and India came in and 33 for 4 straight away. And Sachin Tendulkar comes in, and he's 23 years old at this point, and he's batting with Sourav Ganguly, and literally, like, while he's batting, you know, about 20-25 minutes in, he tells Sourav Ganguly that, you know, I think a useful way to combat South African pace is to just stand wide outside the crease, and I'm going to let go of my trigger movement. So Sourav Ganguly said to him that, you know, are you insane? How can you be doing that in the middle of an innings and against bowlers like Pollock and Donald? So Tendulkar said that, you know, that's fine. You know, let me try it. He tried it and it worked for him. He scored 169 in that game. Stitched a 222 run partnership. We lost the game terribly, but it was saving grace for India. And my point here is that there is a confidence thing, but it's also an individual understanding of where your game is at. And I don't know where Aiden feels like his game is at, you know, because sometimes as per instinct, and Aiden appears to be an instinctive batter to a large degree. And, you know, perhaps at some point, you know, he needs to take that move, you know, whether it's in the middle of an innings or in the middle of a series, you know, if there's something different to try, go for it.
I'd rather him try it at domestic. I'd rather him try it at the Titans. I don't want him to hang around a Proteas side, have him there as a walking wicket, when for the last 2 years, apart from Faf du Plessis, who averages 29.5, he averages 29.29 ever since Bacha walked into the side. Yes, he scored 100, he scored 100, he scored 350s, but Dean Alga averages 42, Quinny, who just retired, averages 41, Rassi averages 34.6, Temba averages 50.6 since Bacha took over, Aiden averaged 29, Faf 29.5, Keegan Peterson 35.5. There's something, it's not just, it's like he's learning, and there's some series where he's done well. Yeah, we get it. He's had some series where he's been good and been okay, but from a very long period, for over 2 years, he hasn't cut the money. Yes, we can see there are moments where he's great, but there are a lot more moments where he's famine, he's feast or famine. And so my question is, can you accept having somebody in there who his head-wise technically isn't that great, and you're going to roll him out to Southie and Bolt just because domestic cricket's not good enough?
I don't think it's just. I don't think that's the case, though. I think we're
But where else
being
can he learn?
extremely harsh on Aiden Markram over here, though. Like, I
County
know he's had a
cricket.
We're
crap.
not being harsh.
I know
We're
he's had
just
a. I
saying-
know he had a crap 2 years. I know he's had a crap 2 years since Boucher walked into the job, and but then we also haven't played much Test cricket since Boucher walked into the job. If you look at it, so it's not like necessarily that he's had abundance of chances over here. He's only played 29 Test matches in his career, in his short career that he's in his young career that he's had. So
innings. 18 innings. That's
not much though compared
it's
to
a
others.
sample size.
It's
Everyone
a sample
else is
size,
also,
but if you look at Rassi,
but the thing is,
for
he's
example,
the child in the class who's at the bottom. He's the child in the class who's at the bottom. If we put up the test scores, he's at the bottom. It's not like he's hanging around with everybody and everyone's averaging 29 together. People are averaging above 40, and he's there hanging around at 29. Like, can we then say no? He must continue in the side.
Can I ask what the alternative would be for you, Empo? Let's say if you were to drop him completely.
An opportunity.
Yeah, but
Let him
that's
go
at the
back
top.
to the Titans.
I'm on about it. Would you drop him down the order to 4? That's something which has been, floated.
Hey,
You
look,
wouldn't?
I'd be okay with that, but he'd have to go back to the Titans and sort out his technique. The assumption that it's easier to bat, yes, it's slightly easier to bat, but the assumption that it's going to be a little bit easier because some bowling attacks are better than others. We're playing New Zealand in the next Test series, and they have a very good bowling attack at first change. And then you've also got England in August. Like, I don't understand. Like, Bangladesh is going to be easy. He's going to score a double 100 against Bangladesh, and all will be forgotten. But in between there, I don't want to carry a walking wicket. And it's kind of weird because the problem is that Calvarine is struggling. So we can't have two guys who are struggling in the side now. If we want to move forward and we're struggling to score over 200, we need to make some sort of a decision. And Carl, if we want to give Carl an opportunity in the side, you're going to have to find someone at the top or play 7 batters and then have all of them in there. And you can have, Aiden work out his technique as he goes along. He might score you 100 and you'll be happy. But my thing is, just send him back. It's okay. Drop him. Even for one series. It's okay. It's not going to hurt him.
I think it would hurt him because the reason I say it would hurt him is because if someone else, you put Sarel into the team, Sarel goes to New Zealand and he gets nicked off 2 ducks or gets 5 or 6 in his 2 innings. Or maybe he goes on to score a century and then he comes back home and then he goes to the next series in England and he's pathetic. Are we going to now give him now another 15 games or 10 games to prolong his time and get himself in and find that his spot at the top order? That's another 15 innings, 10 innings down the line, giving another guy opportunity. Or are you just going to chop and change until you find someone that hits it off from the ground running?
Remember, we went through this with Stephen Cook. Stephen Cook didn't have
but Stephen Cook's a different. Stephen Cook's a different talk here. We're talking about a guy 27 and a guy at that's much older over here. Do you put along with a
21.
youngster?
He's-
Do you along with a youngster at the top of the order, or are you going to give another
He's
guy that's a little
struggling.
bit more experience on top?
He's struggling. Like, I don't understand why we need to continue this thing.
He struggled in
someone
this
at
series,
the
yes,
top.
but he struggled
He's
in the
been
series.
struggling
Yes,
since 2019. Like, I don't
you
understand
can,
what's going on.
but there are so many other batters that have struggled too.
Do you know what he could
That
do
means
with
they
genuinely,
protected.
guys? Do you
And
know,
they got dropped, and then they were told to score runs, and they came back into the side. Timber was dropped in the England series. He didn't play a game of the England series. He came back into the side. He's averaging 50. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Drop him. Like, send him home.
do you know what he
Give
could do
someone
with?
else a chance.
He could do, if South Africa were going on a tour or something like that, that'd be ideal, wouldn't it? Because that's the, it's the bridge between the two. Because I completely understand Khalid's point, to be fair, with Aiden. Like, going back to domestic cricket won't help him compared to other batsmen, because you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go back and
Yeah.
dominate. You need something
my
almost
point.
as I said, a connector to bridge the gap. And unfortunately, at the moment, that's not there.
You see, it's different with Temba, where I feel Temba was struggling for runs for getting runs and converting centuries, and for a very, very long time he's been struggling to convert centuries. Yes, he's been excellent, and I thought that we should give him more opportunities, and I backed Temba 100%. But Temba's also batting at the bottom of the order, 6, 7. So he goes back to domestic cricket and he smashes 183, and then he's back in the team again. How is that going to help Aiden? I don't see how it's going to help Aiden's problem. That's what I don't understand, is how is it going to, because it's not Temba not getting 50 is not a technical issue. Temba not converting is not a technical issue. It's a mental issue. There's something mentally that he needs to get over, because he's fighting for that half century, getting it in like 130 balls, getting a half century, fighting to keep South Africa in the game. Mentally, that is draining. When you get that milestone, there is a sense of relief that you get when you get it. You see it in all sports. In football, you see it too. When you score the equalizer, or you score and you go in front, then all of a sudden you like the whole team goes in complacent, and they're like, oh, yes, you're relief, and then suddenly you concede again. So these things happen for sportsmen, and generally speaking, it's yes, to a degree there's a mental issue with Markram, but it's also a little bit of a technical flaw against very good bowlers that can move the ball around. He's never played in New Zealand yet. I think that it would be a really good opportunity for him to go to New Zealand and play on a proper grass wicket where he can really iron those things out. And yes, you can say it's a walking wicket, but I feel anybody that goes into the opening spot right now is going to be a walking wicket, I don't think anybody that we know is going to maybe hit the ground running immediately.
You don't know that.
You
That's
can't.
the thing.
You don't know that. But that's my point. That I know you don't know that. So both ways, it works. You might work, or it might not work. You might send him back. He comes back and he scores 300s in a row, or he doesn't. You don't know what it is. But you need to do the best decision that you could give to him, the best decision possible to help him with his technique. That's what we need to do with any player that is struggling.
It would
identify
be
the issue
out at the highest level in New Zealand and being like, here, go, have a chance. If you get out for 0, it's fine. As long as you fix.
We're not talking about a guy that's only played. We're not talking about a guy that's only played 5 innings. We're talking about a guy that has played 20.
No, I understand
29
that,
matches.
but it doesn't make sense that. Because the opening partnership's been the problem. Everyone was complaining at the start of the series that Keegan Peterson keeps on coming in at scores 7, 1, 2, whatever it was under 10. And then all of a sudden, and everyone was thinking, no, maybe we need to drop Keegan down the order because this can't be happening. Our opening partnership needs a look at. Then all of a sudden, everything's fine with Keegan, and Keegan's your number 3. Now we're sitting there
I think Keegan was more about protecting the player. Dropping him down the order was more about protecting the player.
But how does it help to know that you could be 10 for 1 in Auckland or wherever we're going to be playing on the grassiest of wickets, and that person out is Mr. Markram? When we've seen his technical flaws here in South Africa.
But sometimes it's Mr. Dean.
Yes, sometimes it's Mr. Dean, but most of the times it's been Markram, because Dean's been averaging 41 since 2020. Since that England series, Aiden's been averaging 29. Like I don't understand why we need to roll out a guy who's been struggling and be like, here you go, here's another opportunity. When Sadal is sitting there, he's been in the side for 2 years sitting there, and he hasn't been given an opportunity. He wants to get an opportunity. I say drop the guy, let him come back. He will come back. I'm not saying it's over. This is not tennis the brain. I know that. It's not over. Drop him, and he'll be back by the end of the year. I guarantee you that. I have no issues with that. It's just that send him back. He needs to fix his mentality. He needs to fix his technique, and then I'll come back. It's not an issue. Being dropped is not a problem.
I didn't say, like, for me personally, I don't have an issue with dropping a player. As long as the player learns from the being dropped and comes back, that it helps him. Because dropping a player, like, I don't think it helped Zubair Hamza dropping him from the test side at the time that they did. It was a wrong move at the time. It was the wrong move to drop him at that time. So for me, I think that if South Africa can get a proper run of fixtures of Test cricket under their belt, now this is a proper opportunity. They play New Zealand, they play England. There's a couple of series in a row. India, England, New Zealand. I mean, India, New Zealand, and England in a row. It's a proper
What about Bangladesh?
run of fixtures. Bangladesh in between as well. It's a proper run of fixtures that he can really go and focus on Test cricket. There's a lot of distractions that he's faced in the last 2 years that it would have gotten under his belt that I think also affected him, because he had to, all of a sudden, he had to be the country's savior in T20 cricket, which came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, he had to learn things at the number 4 spot where he's never batted before, and there's a lot of pressure. I'm not making excuses for him. I just said, because yes, I'm a fan of him, but if he needs to be dropped, I feel drop him. If a player needs to be dropped and going back to domestic cricket because they're lacking form and they just need to feel bat on ball and they just need to score runs, like Temba needed that. Temba needed a booster for him, for everything that he was going through, from the fans talking crap about him and talking shit about him and talking about how crap he is and he shouldn't be in a team and he should quote a player and all this crap. He needed that for a booster to go back and crap and smack the shit around here in Cape Town, in South Africa, and then and get back onto the bicycle again and feel that feeling of getting runs again under his belt. Because where he bats in South African team, he doesn't necessarily get that opportunity every game. He's not guaranteed the opportunity to score runs every single game. Whereas I feel openers are almost in a way, because they get an opportunity to start every single game, opening the batting, having bat on ball. So I think that yes, you can drop Aiden Markram and let him go back to domestic cricket and score 500s in a row, like he probably will. Comes back to South Africa, Sadal ever gets dropped again. Maybe he scored 150 in 5 innings, and he gets dropped again. And now Aiden comes back because he's messing up domestic cricket. Sadal goes back, messes up domestic cricket. Aiden maybe gets 150 in 5 innings, and then they're going to switch again. Is that going to happen, or do you prolong with one person?
Which is why
keep a unit,
that's why you have Neil McKenzie
and trust the spine.
That sounds like England, by the way.
The problem is we can't score above 200. We've only scored above 200 in the past, in the fourth innings of these last 2.
But that's not only Aiden's problem.
I know.
It's almost like Aiden's taking. It's like Aiden's getting what I've seen on social media. Aiden's taking all the blame for everything.
No, the batting needs a rethink. That's what we need to. So one of the questions, as I posed earlier on in the show, we need to consider is, does Dean, because we can't drop Dean, so does Dean need another partner? And then if the answer is yes, what do we do with Aiden? Do we drop him, or do we drop him down to 4? Right? I'm okay with dropping him down to 4. I'm comfortable with that, but the message it sends to everyone else in domestic, the Bedinghams, the Hamzas, the Yanaman Malans, is a problem. But then on top of that, you've got Rassie sitting at number 4. So the question is, how do you get the side scoring more runs? How do you? I say it may be a question of moving Rassie off, letting Aiden go to domestic and smash guys out at 4, get a new opener in, and see maybe if Aiden does well, he comes in at 4 and it works that way. But my issue is that I'm uncomfortable taking a guy who has technical flaws to New Zealand. If it was Bangladesh, if we're going to Bangladesh away or Bangladesh was next, I would gladly give him that opportunity. But I cannot take Aiden with his technical flaws to New Zealand, then give him Bangladesh because he's going to score runs. Then you're going to make him open. I don't know where the first test match is, Aaron, wherever that may be. And then all of a sudden those technical flaws pop up again and we're having this conversation in the middle of the England series. I would rather then give someone else an opportunity for these next 8 games and say, if you don't score in these next 8 games, the end of the year you might not be in the side. That's enough. That surely is that fair? Is that fair? And if he continues, and if, let's say, Cyril is the guy and he's scoring runs at the top, then you need to have a rethink as to what you want to do with Aiden or where you can get Aiden in. But surely that's fair. I'm sitting there going, like, even with Kyle, I'm not asking for Kyle to be dropped, even though Kyle's shown us that there are some technical flaws in his game. I'm saying he's played 2 test matches, take him through. But for me, like, I think the next 8 games give someone else a chance.
Aditya, what do you think about that? Because
I was
to
going
be
to say
fair,
this.
Aditya and Vernon have not spoken for ages. Exactly.
Yeah, Aditya, Vernon, and Aaron.
Well, I'm fine.
Vernon should probably go for it. I did give a little bit of my spiel on Sachin Tendulkar, so go for it.
Nah,
And Vernon,
I've enjoyed it. This is
about England as well, and Jacob Ethel, 44 from 63 balls and a 7-wicket dominant victory over Bangladesh. But carry on.
You have to celebrate something, right? You can't talk about the Ashes.
Yeah, the less we talk about that, the better.
Yeah, I've enjoyed how this has become the Aiden Markram show now today, and not anymore about what you can do with what the team needs to do. This is what needs to happen with Markram. But yeah, I agree with Umpo. I would personally, I can't see him playing against New Zealand and having the same issues. I'd rather give Soro Arvia, who's been waiting on the sideline for a long time now for his opportunity. I'll give him a chance. As I said earlier, I would personally say to Markram, go back to the Titans. If you want to try rather and get into the middle order of the Proteas, then go play at 4 for the Titans, like Anaman Malan is doing for Boland. So yeah, it is technical. It is mental. It's a lot of things at this stage. There's a lot of things going in Markram's head. You could see in that last innings, he was really all over the place, and I'm thinking, yeah, this guy is really overthinking it right now. And I think he knows the problems that exist, and he knows it's not good enough. And I think that's the other thing. I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself, because obviously he wants to perform. He wants to live up to what everybody expects of him. Like everybody say, he has all this potential, all this talent. He is our future leader. And I think he might be carrying a lot of that with him in his head every time he goes out. So I think somebody just needs to take him aside and say, look, let go of that. Don't worry about all those stuff. Just focus on what you can do with the bat. Don't worry about all the expectations. Obviously, you can't just put it totally out of your head, because it's always going to be there in the back of your mind. But I think at this stage, let him go to the Titans, where there's not that much pressure. There's not going to be any cameras on him. Let him go relax, go work on his technique, go work on whatever he needs to work on. Smash the domestic bowlers if that's what it takes. Even if he does then score 300s, great. Let him do that. And then if we see he's doing what needs to be done at number 4, and he wants to fight back for that, let's say Arvia has cemented his place. He's at great series of New Zealand and Bangladesh, and he's going to England. Maybe Markram comes back in at the end of the year, like Umpo said. I mean, I think we're going to Australia after the World Cup. We'll remain there and we'll play the Test series there.
We might have a Pakistan home series, but yeah, Australia, we're playing them next year in August or whatever time it is.
Yeah, all right, something like that. But he'll probably be a great batsman on Australian pitches. Fast, bouncy, not necessarily a lot of movement sideways, except maybe Hobart, like they played this last game. But so yeah, I personally say give Arvia a chance. Nothing against Markram. I think he's got what it takes to make it, but right now is not the time in a test format, at least in my opinion, not until he has worked out a few things.
So what is given a chance for Saad Arabia? How many innings is that?
Great question.
I'd say, yeah, it's a difficult one, right? But I'd say New Zealand, Bangladesh, take him to England as well. England's probably going to test him the most. New Zealand also, but England will probably test him the most. If he comes through with flying colors, then great. If he doesn't, let's see exactly how bad is it by the time we get to the end of the year. If you see it didn't work out, then you give somebody else a chance. If maybe it is Markham coming back as opener, it's not impossible. Maybe he does end up coming back as an opener. Maybe you end up, I don't know, a different opener. I obviously don't have all the answers, right? I
Werner,
don't.
that's a problem there. That's like an England complex. You know, you give an opener a couple of series, and then it's, you know, you go to the next one in the factory
Yeah,
line.
yeah, you don't
That's
want
my
that.
concern. Because
You
if
want to
Cyril
give him
doesn't work out, then
He
then
needs
who's
more
next
than
in
this year.
line? And
As
then
an
who's
opening
next in line after
batsman,
that? And then after that, then we're
but as an
never going to have an opening partnership.
exactly.
Ever.
And as an opener, let's be honest,
Ever.
this year for SA as well, you're going to two of the hardest places in the world to open the batting. That's something which South Africa fans, if Sarel does not perform to his expectations, if he does not live up to those, you have to put that into consideration. It is ridiculously hard to open the batting in New Zealand and England. Even though England can't bat, we can bowl. We've got some excellent bowlers in home conditions. So you've got to give him longer than 2022. He's got the rest of this year as far as I'm concerned.
Is it New Zealand, Bangladesh, and then England?
Yeah.
So why don't we give Aiden New Zealand if he still has the same issues, if he hasn't sorted out his issues till then? Because I think technical issues he can work on right now with the team and his coaches and stuff for New Zealand. Then if he fails, give a new guy an opportunity against Bangladesh to get his runs under his belt, get a little bit of an easier, you could not say easy chance, but an easier chance or battle than New Zealand. Because New Zealand, it is an easier battle than New Zealand. Come on, Aaron. Come on. This be real, yeah. Let's not be real facts here. Bangladesh is easier than New Zealand. So wait. So give them a chance against Bangladesh.
Hang on, they beat us. They've beaten Australia at home. Just saying.
Yeah. Give them an opportunity against Bangladesh and then England. Because I feel that if Aiden does come right against in New Zealand, then you can keep him. Then we have your main opener that can pair up whoever comes in after. Because he's also going to until he's 40. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain that fight in him till he's 40. Yeah, when he gets a little bit slower and his reactions are a little bit not as quickly as he is used to. I mean, now he's already getting bodied all over the place. But when I look at it right now, I think give Aiden New Zealand, then Bangladesh, you got a chance, and then England. Because for me, Cyril doesn't score against New Zealand. He gets an opportunity against New Zealand. It's a very difficult place to go bat on those pitches against those bowlers. And he looks like he's not ready. We're going to be calling for Cyril's head. And then who's next? Eddie Moore. We're going to throw Eddie Moore into against Bangladesh. Eddie Moore doesn't settle in immediately. You can't expect every opener to just settle in immediately and score on his 100 on his debut. Only so many people have done so. So we need to look at it individualistically, each position and each series individually, and see where the faults are and then try and sort it out. But right now, at this moment in time, there is no 4-day cricket for him to go back to. If he even is going to go back to 4-day cricket before New Zealand, 4 days almost done. So when it comes to that, you're just dropping him, and then what's he going to do? Sit at home, do nothing, and learn nothing, and this whatever. So I don't think it's. I think if they are to drop him, they have to drop him before the series. Now go play 4-day cricket and get back into form now. Then they should have dropped him now in the series.
That was India. Before we saw the technical faults. The problem was.
We knew he had it.
No.
We've been talking about it, bro. We've been talking about this for a long time.
No, we have. But in Pakistan, he was playing a lot straighter. Even in the West Indies, he was playing a lot straighter.
The conditions were different for that. It was spin. The mentality in West Indies and in Pakistan was all about spin. It was playing the spinners, playing a little bit straighter. That was their approach against spin. Is playing straighter. So that's why they play that way as a team.
He's had this problem from the start of his career. He seemingly fixed it after COVID. And we were like, okay, this could be it. And then all of a sudden we're back to square one. And now we were sitting and going, so how do we fix this thing? He's had an opportunity learning the same thing you want him to do in New Zealand, in Bangladesh, throughout this thing, but it keeps on coming back. So it's a feel thing for me.
I'll give him New Zealand. I don't think dropping him after one poor series is...
Guys, we're going to be here in the mornings and we're going to be talking the same thing. But
well, then we can be talking about the same thing.
Look,
I
get your
just
point.
feel that
I get your
I
point
just
about
feel
the
that he's a
merry-go-round.
person that you invest your time in. Like I think you invest in a
Yes, we
player like
have,
him.
but has it given out dividends?
I don't think we've
And
invested
is it
in him.
giving
No,
out
we
dividends
haven't.
for this
Because he's
team?
batted in a team that is shit at batting for the last 5 years. He hasn't had a solid batting setup around him. He had to be the hero. A youngster coming into the team has to be the hero. Like that, is that fair? To put all that pressure on a youngster like that
We
so
never
early? He's
asked
coming
Aiden
into
to be
the
the
team.
hero in the
Oh,
test.
come on.
We've never asked him to be the hero in the test.
Everybody expected him to score the runs. Every single series, it's him. It was on
It's
him.
because you guys
Australia.
put him on a pedestal and made him a savior.
No one
Now
put-
he's struggling, and I'm asking you to drop him for 3 series, and
This is a
everyone's like,
this is a
going all
classic
crazy.
fight. There's a
Because you
classic
want to
fight
drop
between
Aiden for
someone that's
3
an Aiden fan and someone's not an Aiden fan.
No, it's not that. It's not that. My thing is that give someone else a chance. We've seen his problems from 2018 when Pakistan were here all the way to now, and it's come back again. So it's either he finds what he did against Australia, and he does it. If not, give someone else a chance. It's just only fair. And I understand the whole merry-go-round thing. I get it, but how do we? Are we okay with allowing a guy to just keep on going on like this? And you're saying that you don't know how he's going to fix it. If he hasn't fixed it ever since he started, because you said he's had this thing before, what does it tell me about his mentality? Does he not want to fix it?
No, but he's had
Because if he
different
doesn't want to
issues.
fix it, why must I take a guy who doesn't care about fixing his technical flaws?
But that's
Why
not
must I
true.
take
You
it-
make that. You can't just make a
No, but
statement
he
like
hasn't
that.
fixed it. You said
If
you
he-
don't know how he's going to fix it.
Okay, so when he
because he's tried
started,
everything.
When he started, it didn't look like he had a technical flaw. He was smacking hundreds and half centuries.
He did. He was missing
he
straight
did.
balls from Pakistan. It was who was
Yeah,
it?
but so was
Who was
other
that bowler?
batters. So were other classic top quality batters too.
Yes.
Like
But
who?
we've
So
Holly?
not
had
only
this issue
Aiden.
before.
Name names.
So what?
No,
so my
but we
point
had this
is not
issue with
only
Aiden
Aiden.
before. We've
Yeah,
had
so
it. Like
we've
I've
had
had it.
issues with
That
other
was
batters
my
too.
one critique with him. That
But
was my
that-
one critique
but-
with him. Handle the straight ball.
Rassi
He
does
can't.
it. Rassi does it almost every
Yes,
single ball.
and
he
I'm
misses.
happy to drop Rassi. I'm comfortable if you want to drop Rassi. I'm happy.
I'm just giving
100%.
examples. So like I mean,
Yes, but I'm just uncomfortable to take an opener who has that problem with the moving ball to New Zealand. I'd rather even hide him for what it is. I'd rather even hide him.
But then
at
he
full.
never learns from his mistakes. If you just hide him
Then-
away
but-
from danger.
Yeah, but that's what you want. You want to have
You
him
either
play
want him to
and
be your
fail
premier.
over and over again, and he's doing the
You
same
either
thing.
want
and it
him to
doesn't
be your
come
premier.
right.
You either want him to be your premier opener or you don't. I don't think signing him at number 4 is the right move for him.
But okay, if that's not it, then if he's
Especially when
struggling
we've
at
got
1
top
or
quality
2,
number 4s coming through the system.
But then what must we do with that opening spot
Can I throw a name? in there?
after West Indies, after India? What must we do?
Can I throw a
Must we
name in
I
there?
think
Must we wait until New Zealand to make a decision?
after New Zealand you can make a decision. Are we fighting for the Test Championship anyway?
Yes, because you're right there on percent. We're fourth, 66.6%.
This was our first series in the Test Championship.
I know.
We're actually in a good position.
Yeah, so we're in a good position right now. So okay, so you're gonna throw in a new guy that's never played Test cricket before against New Zealand, rather than a guy that's played Test cricket before. So you think that's the solution?
But the thing is, you're playing
Yes.
a guy
If
who's
you're gonna
played Test
fight for a
cricket, but who
championship,
is,
so you're
who is
gonna-
having problems right now.
Yeah, but everybody's gone through problems. It's not like only he's gone through issues. Everybody's gone through issues.
Yeah, but he first
And you
needs to
can't
show
compare-
that he's
well, and you
rectified
can't
it before you.
But you can't compare Aiden to someone that's batting at 5 or 6 and say, oh, look at that. Quentin de Kock has averaged 46 in the last 5 years, but Aiden's
He's
averaged
retired
29
now.
in the last 2 years. Like, I'm just
Dean
giving you an
Elgar
example. You
averages
can't,
41 on the other end. Like
one
what
century
must
and
we-
one half century between them. Difference.
That's not right.
half
It's
century and
41
one-
average.
but-
Guys,
but
average
still-
41 and
but
29.
still.
Like, what must we do?
Some of them might have been, but still 1 century and one half century between the two. That's different. Elgar scored 1
Okay, guys.
century and one
look-
half century and more matches he's played.
Look, at the
in
end of the day,
last 2
Mark
years.
Barch is going to stick by him. I know that. Like, I realized it this afternoon. Aiden's going to open in New Zealand. It won't be Sardo. I just kind of thought
I love
you
this
know.
debate, guys, by the way. Me and Umpo love each other. Don't worry about it. They don't get vibes about me and him. We always have arguments like this. Sorry, guys. Let's wrap us up. Aditya's sleeping halfway. It's already late in India. Aditya, I want to hear your final thoughts before we say bye to everybody. And Verna as well,
Well,
please, too. And
I'm not going to comment on whether Aiden should be dropped or not. It's too late to discuss that, but I do think that he should contact Paddy Upton. He certainly needs a mental conditioning coach.
I think there needs to be some. I think the whole bloody batting lineup needs to be.
Can I throw a name in there? Because
maybe
I didn't get
Bar Al and Timber.
right. I have the solution to South Africa's issues. 3 words. John Smuts. Bring him in.
No, when he talk like this, and I'm already heated. We already heated, and he talks crap like this.
Be honest, gents. I'm just saying. How many World Test Championships have South Africa won without John Smuts? 0. How many could they win? At least 2. I'm just saying.
You know who's technically correct that we can actually use in the opening position right now? Laura Wolfart. I think we need to get her in there for the New Zealand series.
I know this is maybe for. I know this is maybe even for another podcast maybe, but I saw someone mention what about Keegan Peterson as an opener.
Let the guy bat at 3. He's comfortable at 3. He wants to be at 3. Let him bat at 3. He's done well there. Let's keep him there. I
said exactly the same thing.
Let's not mess it around. Let's get a proper opener in there who has done well domestically, who's done well for SAA, who's chomping at the bit to get this opportunity. And let's see how he goes this year. Give him the year. Let's see how he goes.
Sorrel scored a classy 77 against India A. I understand it wasn't Bloom, but I just sat there going, oh man, this guy needs just one chance, guys. Look, it's fine. You can blame for the New Zealand series. You give Aiden every other series, but I think the world needs to see Sardo Avia. I think he's done so much to change his game. Also, as a limited overs player, and now became a red ball player, has effectively usurped Peter Malan from that spot as a backup. I think give him a chance. I don't know. You might be surprised. And then
Peter also has technical flaws.
Himself. We know, but
we see it in domestic cricket.
Will they be at both?
Test cricket. So.
No, but like what I'm saying is Aiden's going to be captain of this test side in a couple of years' time. Don't worry, guys. This could be the moment in his tell-all book where he was like, I was dropped, I wasn't playing well, and then all of a sudden my friend Khalid gave me the phone call, showed me this podcast, and then this guy in Paul just spoke so badly about me that I wanted to be better, and I wanted to prove him wrong because I wish he does prove him wrong. I wish he does. Yeah. Always
look here. Guys, for the sake of the debate, obviously I was going to stick to a point of view here. But, I mean, I want what's best for the team at the end of the day. Not only what's best for Aiden, I want what's best for the team. So if it's the right thing, if the coaches think that it's the right thing to do to drop him and he can get his learnings that he needs over there at domestic level, by all means, they have to do it. Me personally, I don't see him learning those technical flaws at domestic level. I think the domestic level is too easy for him. I think he's going to breeze through it. And I think he's going to learn nothing from it than just get a couple of good scores under his belt and push up his first class average on Y. And then people are going to be asking 2 years' time, oh, but he averages 60 in domestic cricket. Why is he not in the test team? How can you not play Aiden? Because I don't want to be this ongoing cycle over here. I want it to end at some point. But look, you guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button. Subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly as well. Every issue is 100% free in your inbox. The link is in the description. And to all of you guys out there, also subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, smash the like button, follow all of these guys on social media too. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everybody.